Last week when I turned Minecraft mobs into Xenomorphs, I really wanted to get to doing a phantom Xenomorph, but I also knew I needed the extra time to work on the community redraw I was making last week, so I ended up just sticking with 3 drawings for that episode. But that idea was still really sticking with me, and I got lots of ideas from people in the comments of other Minecraft mobs I could turn into Xenomorphs. Admittedly, more of the comments were talking about how I should do Ben 10 aliens as Xenomorphs, and I do really like that idea. But first I figured let's give this a round 2, and check back in with, I guess, our new narrator that a lot of people liked, Bustar Terminax. Let's go!
Hit like if you want, subscribe if you feel like, but either way, enjoy the show.
Bustar Terminax Mission Log Quest 2 under new directives. I guess technically this counts as the same contract I was on before. See, I left Minecraft 4 earlier than I was supposed to because I didn't want to keep the Xenomorphs I was hauling caged up too long. Cute little guys didn't deserve that, so I bailed on searching for more of the Xeno eggs on Minecraft 4 to transport the 3 specimens I had back to Ishkonigan Major, the nature preserve planet run by the Ishkonians. Pretty funky group of people they are. Got real advanced tech, but they rarely use it. They're all about being attuned with nature or whatever, hence I guess them vibing with my whole new no-kill policy thing. Anyway, we got word from Minecraft 4 just after I arrived on Ishkonigan Major that more Xenos had popped up, so I had to turn my butt around and get back there quick. Especially because I might not be the only one hunting them down. Spotted a Flargan Yautja ship in the quadrant on my radar as I was leaving, and I ain't losing a Xeno to another one of them Flargan Yautja. Anyway, I'm en route back to Minecraft 4 now. Before I left, the Ishkonians did install some newfangled AI sort of thing onto my ship. Said it might help me out, but I didn't really get a chance to learn much about it. Hey, ship tech thing, what's your primary function again?
Hello, Bustar. I have been installed as your emotional support companion to keep your spirits high even while facing great strife in your hunts and endeavors.
I thought you were gonna upgrade my weapons or shields or speeds or something.
Those are my secondary functions, yes. We will arrive on Minecraft 4 in roughly 87% the time it would have taken prior to my installation.
Well, that's what I like to hear. Anyway, first Xeno I'm hunting down is one that dug its way out of the body of an alien that can teleport, so not exactly gonna be an easy one to track down. Translation to local dialect basically calls them the Endermen, and these things like to attack anyone that looks at them funny. Or it really looks at them anyway at all. Rumor has it they can also teleport to another dimension, but pretty sure if that was true, the Intergalactic Safety Commission would have hunted them all down by now. Last I heard stories of anyone making a multiversal warp drive engine to move around to other dimensions, the Safety Commission smashed up their tech and executed the scientists working on the thing. The Commission's not exactly a group of folks you want to be on the wrong side of. Anyway, that's not really relevant. The Endermen are apparently pretty tough as it is, so odds are the Xeno that popped out of one of them is gonna be one of the scrappier ones I fought. But I'm always up for a good challenge. And either way, there ain't no chance I'm failing on this one.
That is a wonderful attitude to carry, Bustar, but remember, even failure is an essential step on the path to growth and success.
Sure, right, whatever.
Alright, now for the Enderman, I figured this one would be a good, fairly bog-standard sort of Xenomorph design, because the Xenomorphs that we're generally used to seeing look the way they do, partially because they came out of humans. So one coming out of an Enderman, I figured since the Enderman is fairly human-looking, just with all black skin and purple eyes, that this would be a pretty similar Xenomorph to what we're used to in the movies and comics and stuff. But I also knew it was going to be really fun to work in some of the purple elements, make it a little bit skinnier and longer limbs than the Xenomorphs I usually draw, though looking at the finished result, I probably could have accentuated that even more. I also had the thing holding up a piece of dirt in one of its hands and kind of dripping down. I did that when I did an Enderman fantasy armor in my Minecraft Fantasy Armors episode, and I really liked that sort of look, and just figured it would be another thing to help sell this a little bit more as an Enderman because they go around picking up chunks of dirt / blocks. And in terms of the lore and story for this one, I was very happy to see that lots of people seem to really like Bustar Terminax, our sort of tough guy kind of character that thinks xenomorphs are really cute and doesn't want to kill monsters anymore, just wants to catch them and bring them to a nature preserve. So I started thinking about what other elements I could work in, and I really liked the idea of giving him a sort of very positive, upbeat AI ship kind of thing, but also partially just because I used that voice modifier in the recent Beast Summoner episode, the Community Redraw, and I was like, oh, I really love how this sounds, and I wanted some kind of way to work it into another episode, so this felt like a good fit. Plus, I've already started thinking up lots of other interesting things that I could work into this universe that I've already started hinting at in this lore, so let's see how that progresses with the rest of the episode. But first, take a look at this art.
Mission Log Quest 2, Entry 2. Those Flargan Yautja are here after all, and I'm willing to bet that's why these Xenos are popping up in the first place. Those predators got a bad habit of dropping those things on unsuspecting planets to make new Xenomorphs for him to test out their hunting skills against. As if there ain't already enough tough alien monsters for him to fight out there in the galaxy. I've had run-ins with these two before. Staiv and Alix are their names, and they've used planets around the Minecron sector for their hunting grounds in the past. I might have even fought on a hunting party with them once back in the day, but now none of those Flargan Yautja will talk to me anymore after I stopped killing things. Petty little snorg bunters.
I am very sorry to hear that they have treated you that way, Bustar. But remember, it is better to be alone as the person you truly are than to pretend to be someone you're not, simply to remain in the presence of those who do not resonate with you or accept you.
No, not now, ship. Anyways, looks like the rumors about the Enderman were true, cause while I was wrestling down the Endermorph, it teleported us both to another dimension. A really hot one full of molten rock that had these weird two-legged red things stomping around the lava like it was nothing. Didn't think I'd be seeing those things again after the Endermorph teleported us both back out to Minecron 4 and I managed to get the thing restrained. Brought it onto the ship and locked it up with a cage of 4 screens all showing unblinking faces staring at the thing. Those Enderman things usually stay frozen once someone sees them until the person blinks or looks away for the first time. So the unblinking staring screens should keep the thing from teleporting out of there. Anyway, I went looking for the Xenomorph eggs after that, but just outside the abandoned mines where I'd found one of the Xenos last time, I spotted a Yautja ship. Knew I had to be careful, not that I can't take a couple of Yautja, but they are pretty tough. So I used the cloaking tech that I might have jacked from one of them back when they started rejecting me as an ally. I hunted through the mines and eventually saw Staiv and Alix on the hunt, but they were actually riding a Xeno that sorta looked like a version of one of those things I saw in the realm the Endermorph took me to. Guess the predators had gone in there too. Thing they were riding was shaking like crazy and didn't look happy to have a couple Yautja riding it, but anytime it started acting up they'd zap it with a stun stick. Got me looking for a fight right then and there, but I knew I had to hold back at first. Figured they could lead me to the other Xeno eggs they might have dropped here. And I was right on target. They eventually trekked through this cave that had a bunch of Xeno eggs, some hatched and some not. I set that location on my watch to get back to later, then got out of there. Was already lucky their red Xeno thing hadn't noticed me, but I swear I'm gonna get that thing away from them and bring it back to Ishkonigan Major with the others. Even if, in a way, they made it, they don't get to just keep that thing around as their own personal slave.
It is truly beautiful to see someone so passionate about helping creatures in need, even ones as menacing in appearance as xenomorphs.
Oh, they ain't menacing, they're adorable looking.
That is a truly strange perspective, but I appreciate you for it.
Now this one I knew was gonna be a fun, kinda weird one, and it came down to either a Ghast or a Strider, and someone might have suggested Ghast, but I do specifically remember seeing a request for a Strider, and when I started thinking about this one, and how with all my Xenomorph designs, even if the creature doesn't have a tail, I've been adding a tail, and I was looking at the different images that I've taken inspiration from for different Xenomorphs. A lot of them are different people's interpretations of Xenomorph T-Rexes, which are super cool. By the way, Xenomorph dinosaurs is another thing I've considered that some people have suggested that could be very fun, but there's tons of different Xenomorph T-Rex designs out there, and for this one I figured I could pull a lot of inspiration from those, because this thing would almost be a bit like a T-Rex, but just without the body part and the little extra arms. And I had a lot of fun with this one. The only little nitpick I'd say is in terms of the pose, I think I could have made this one feel a little bit less scrunched in and condensed if I didn't have the tail kind of looping behind it than in front of it. It just feels like there's a little bit too much going on in the space. Like it would have been nice to give a bit more breathing room, maybe the tail going up over it, or I don't know exactly what, but just the tail not quite wrapping in so tightly with the rest of the body. But that is a small little nitpick. Overall, I love this one, and I hope you all do as well. Mission Log Quest 2 Entry 3. The most beautiful creature I've ever seen just attacked the Yautja. Got no idea where it came from, but it was flargin' glorious. I spent the last day and a half or so awake tracking Staive and Alex, and it almost seemed like they were just stalling for time. Couldn't figure out what they were up to. I was starting to plan a way to get onto their ship and see if there were any more Xenos or eggs I could jack from them, when all of a sudden this blue beauty shoots down from the sky like it appeared out of nothing and attacked Alex. The thing would fly in for an attack, then dip back up into the skies and practically disappear into the clouds. Except for the glowing green bits on it that were still sort of visible. It took a bit for me to even realize the thing was a Xenomorph. Don't know if they made this thing on purpose or if one of their eggs got to a creature they didn't expect, but either way, Staive and Alex were having a real tough time with this thing. I sort of wanted to jump in and give it a hand, but figured this was a perfect distraction for me to get onto their ship. I didn't go subtle either. They were distracted enough, so I blasted a hole in the door and tore it open. They only had one more Xeno egg left, but they did have a whole bunch of Xeno skulls up on their walls, which really ticked me off. I wrapped up the egg and was gonna get out of there, but then saw they had some sort of, I don't know, six-legged cow turtle looking alien chained up. It didn't get aggressive when I approached, so I just blasted its chains off and let it run out of the ship. Was pretty sure the predators would have seen that, but they were still busy flighting off the flying Xeno. Seemed like it was gonna have them going for a while, so I took my chance to go back into the caves and get the rest of their eggs. Had to make a couple trips, but it seemed like I had all the time in the world. The Yautja were really getting a run for their money. Not that I want to give them any credit, but it might have been because they were just tired. I mean, I was up for almost 2 days tracking them, so they were probably up for even longer than that. Gonna watch and see how this whole thing plays out. If they get close to killing that thing, I'm definitely gonna step in and try and help it out. But also, I hate to admit it, but it is kind of fun watching the Yautja work. Not just because they're pretty epic hunters, but they're also pretty easy on the eyes when they get those masks off.
To clarify, Bustar, are you suggesting that you both think xenomorphs are visually appealing, and you find the Yautja to be physically attractive?
Of course, are you kidding me? Have you seen those mandibles? They drive me wild.
A fascinating and refreshing perspective, Bustar. Enjoy the rest of your hunt.
Now this one for me is definitely the headliner of the episode. I mean, it's the reason I essentially made a second episode, as I said at the beginning, and I just love the colors, I love the pose, I love the design. It maybe goes a little bit too far outside Xenomorph designs with the head, like maybe I put a little bit too much into it, but that's not so much a critique of the actual drawing, it's more just a critique of how close to a Xenomorph it actually is. But if I'm going to be drawing lots of these things, I've probably got to have enough variation to keep it visually interesting and not getting too repetitive. So I honestly don't really have too much to say about this one because I just really love how it turned out, which is, I don't know if I've ever been in that sort of position where I don't have much to say because I just really like it. Though I will say I'm not completely convinced this is my favorite one. Looking back at the first episode, I do still really love how the Warden turned out, so it's a little bit of a toss-up of whether this is my new favorite or if the Warden's still my favorite. Though I guess, overall, Godzilla Xenomorph is probably still my absolute favorite. But anyway, hope you all like this one as much as I do. Let's take a look. Mission Log Quest 2 Entry 4. Not gonna lie, I should have seen it coming that cow turtle thing from the Yautja ship had a Xeno growing inside it. I'm kinda an idiot for not noticing that.
Speaking to yourself in such a way is not productive, Bustar. Everyone does things occasionally that could be considered unintelligent. It does not make you an unintelligent being.
Yeah, okay, you're right, but still, I should have guessed that, and I'm a little snarked that I couldn't save the thing either. Alex and Staive had managed to get a tether around the flying Xeno, and were reeling it in to kill it. I wasn't about to see that happen. At that point, they'd also gotten off of their red Xeno mountain thing that they'd been riding, so I jumped onto the thing and tried to get it to help out. But turns out the thing really wasn't gonna do what I said without a good zap. Should have seen that coming from a Xenomorph, they're not exactly cooperative. The thing nearly impaled me, so even though I hoped I wouldn't have to, I pulled out my own stun stick and gave it a quick zap. It started running forward, and once it got close to Staive, it seemed pretty happy to be on the move. Staive dropped the line holding the flying Xeno to avoid getting munched down, and I leapt off the two-legged Xeno and grabbed the line. Climbed up it real quick and managed to get onto the flying Xeno's back. Then I called Ship and got that new AI to work. Had Ship fly over to me with the bay doors open, and it scooped me and the Xeno right up.
I am very happy to be of assistance, Bustar. Anytime you need me, I will be there for you. Unless you are inside a room or cavern in which I cannot fit.
Appreciate that, Ship. Anyway, at that point, obviously the Yuja knew I was there, so I landed back down to where they were still trying to get a handle on their own Xeno. I was about to come in swinging when suddenly another Xeno stomped up from behind me. Recognized it pretty quick. Thing had to have popped out of the turtle cow thing I set loose from their ship, but man, did it grow up fast. Way faster than a regular Xeno. And this thing was big. It had 4 hooved feet and a couple arms and a gigantic nose, which ain't usually visible on Xenos. I dodged around the thing enough and sorta lured it over to Alex. Thought she'd come after me, but she went for the Xeno instead. Gotta admit, that seemed sorta rude. They're always after a challenge, and I'd say I'm more of a challenge than that Xeno cow thing, but whatever.
You should not seek validation from others, Bustar. You know within yourself that you are indeed a formidable warrior, and that should be enough.
Geez, do you always got some line ready to go anytime I say something negative?
I do indeed. I am pre-programmed with 116,472 inspiring and motivational lines from across various cultures of the universe.
Alright, good to know, I guess. Anyway, I got over to Staive, who wasn't doing such a good job getting a handle on his Xeno ride thing, so it looked like he was just about to ice it. I tackled him to the ground to stop him from killing it and scrapped with him for a bit, and I got more hits on him than he did on me, by the way. But we were interrupted when the big Xeno cow thing stomped through, and Staive just started working with Alex to take it down instead. Just left his own Xeno mount thing unguarded. I jumped onto their Xeno mount again while they weren't paying attention and rode it onto Ship. But by the time I was ready to get back into the fight for the last one, they were already taking it down. The two of them were just too much for it. I know I could have taken them both after, and I was tempted to for what they'd done, but didn't want to risk damaging Ship or them cutting loose any of the Xenos I'd caught. So we blasted on out of there and are en route back to Ishkonigan Major. Hoping that's the last time we see any Xenos on Minecraft 4, but who knows? No telling what those Yahuja will do next.
But whatever it is, you will be ready for it, to help dangerous creatures reach a peaceful home where they can live freely and in harmony with nature.
I mean, it sounds kind of corny when you put it that way, but yeah, I guess so.
Now, one thing I just noticed as I was recording this last line is the name Bustar sounded very familiar to me, and it finally just clicked, and I'm gonna have to go back and make sure I didn't use this name, that it is super similar to Gentleman Bestar from the Backcells Prison series, where I took backrooms entities and turned them into supervillains. I feel like I may have messed that up a few times, so there's probably going to be some points where I have to go back and do edits in this and say Bustar instead of Bestar. But anyway, in terms of the design for this last one, I really like a lot of aspects of it. I like the shape, I like the pose, but it feels a little bit lacking compared to some of the other ones in this episode. I still like it enough, but I think the mouth inside its mouth looks a little bit cheap and like I could have put a bit more attention into it. And I think because I don't have any of those sort of tubes running along its head, it makes the head look a little bit lacking in detail. And I don't know, this one didn't take less time than the others. In fact, it may have been the most time-consuming one. No, that was probably the Phantom, but I'm not sure. But anyway, this one still took a fair amount of time, and it feels a little bit lower tier than some of the other ones. Again, I still like it enough, and I hope you all do as well. But it's not going to hit the mark for one of my most memorable Xenos to me. Also, I'm very much enjoying writing Bustar Terminax and his new ship AI, who I'm just calling ship at the moment. I'm excited to see where this character could go next. But for now, let's take a look at the final art.
If you would like the inks from this episode to color yourself, or if you would like early access to my art a day before a video comes out, plus a bonus podcast series where I talk more in depth about my design and writing process, you might want to consider supporting the PopCross Studios Patreon. The inks and art are up on there now. I'd also love to know what other things people would like to see me do with Xenomorphs. Again, Ben 10 Xenomorphs, definitely high on my list of priorities. Though lots of people have been asking me to do a second Ben 10 Demons episode 2, so we'll see what next Ben 10 thing I do. But of course, if you're new to the channel, you might want to consider watching the first episode of Minecraft Mobs as Xenomorphs, or if you want just other Minecraft stuff, maybe any of my Minecraft Mobs as Fantasy Monsters episodes. But besides that, that's all for today, except of course for ending this video on some kind of positive or inspiring note, and the thought I want to leave people with is a quote from Ed Milet, who said, "I do get down, I do get scared, and I do get discouraged. I just don't stay there very long." That really resonated with me when I saw it, because I do these positive outros in all my videos, and I've said this before, but I don't want it to come across that I am just always perpetually in a state of joy and bliss. These are all messages that I strive to keep in my mind more presently, but I do still have plenty of moments where I get low and upset. And we're all probably always going to have those periods in our lives, but learning how to get yourself out of them so you're not just ruminating in that negative space is such a powerful skill to develop, and anyone can develop it. I hope that's inspiring. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next episode on Monday, which will be a Spider-Man, Spider-Verse sorta related episode. We'll see you there. Goodbye.